You are welcome to the second episode of our Flask full stack application development. This week, we'll be building on what we started out last week. We'll be looking at more concepts in Flask. Last week, we were able to demonstrate how to start and run a Flask server. We're also able to demonstrate the blueprints, what they are, and how we can actually use them in modularizing the routes for our website. This week we'll be continuing on the journey of building an Alx block where intending learners and fellows can actually share their experiences or share their Alx experiences, and others can read their experiences and also share their experiences too. Basically, we're building a community where Alx learners and fellows across the world can share their experiences. So this week we'll be building on what we started last week. This promises to be good, this promises to be educative, and this promises to be fun. So last week we were able to start our Flask app and we're able to create our templates, but we've not been able to use those templates first, and this week that's where we're going to be starting from. So this week we'll be creating the routes for our website. So the first thing I would want to do this week is to actually create our template folders. Our template folders basically will contain the pages for our website, basically our HTML. And pages for our website will include a base template, base.html. The base template is a file that contains the constant pages throughout the constant content on the pages throughout our HTML pages, throughout all of our HTML pages. So it makes it easy for us to start our page. We don't necessarily have to build repetitive content on our pages over and over again. So that's basically what our base.html template does. It allows us to create a base template for all the pages on our website, template it, and with one line of code we can import that on each page. And the next page I will be creating is the home.html page. The home.html page will basically be our home page. So home.html, and the next page I'll be creating is our login page. Our login page, basically, like we know, would help in authenticating and also allowing users to have access to the contents of our web page. So the next page I'll be creating is a signing in page. So I'll just give it a sign.html. And then the next page I want to create is our profile page. The profile page will be a page for each user where they can change in their images, and you can actually see more about a certain user, more updates about a certain user. Login.html. Then profile.html. So the last pages I would want to create are the pages that would actually enable us to create new content for our page and also read the contents that has been created by the individual users on our page. So I'll have my Alx stories, Alx stories read .html. So the Alx stories read.html will handle will actually be the page that would display the content that has been written on our website, and then we'll have the Alx stories write. This will be responsible for handling the um, the posting or the creation of the stories on our website. Alx write.html. So I've been able to set up my base template now, and we also have the pages for our website. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I want to create the routes. I want to create the routes for our page. So now I'll go to my alt.py. Like I said last week, the alt.py contains the authentication routes for our page. Now we've been able to create a blueprint for our alt.py file. We've been able to put this class inside our authentication variable. So inside this authentication variable, we have all of the contents of this class here, so we can access it through this auth variable. So now what I want to create is a decorator. Like I told you last week, a decorator is like a function within a function. It's a wrapper for another function. So in this case, this wrapper wraps out the login function for our page. Now this wrapper would actually contain the directory that leads to our web page. So the first decorator I want to create will go like this: auth the route, and this route, I want this route to actually lead to my login page. So this route will lead to my login page. So I'll say stroke login. So basically, when I do stroke login on my normal website URL, this will take me to the login page. But now I've not been able to set where it would actually, or the contents on this page, or what it would return. So now I now have to create a function that will specify the content to be returned on this page. So I'll say, so I will call this function login. And I'll add my colon. Alright. I will now create a return parameter. And so the return should be an HTML an HTML markup. But in this case, we want to return an actual page. So I would use a certain render template. So I use that function. I'll use a function called render template. Now, render template would basically help in displaying our HTML content to our users, accessing this route, basically. So I've added the render template function. The render template function is inside our Flask class. So I'm using this render template to display the contents of each of our web pages. But right now, which web page do I actually want to use this for? So I'll say return render template. So I'm using this function for return purposes. Alright, so I'm saying return template. So this render template function will now take in a parameter of what page we wanted to access. So the page I want to access is the login.html because we are creating something for our login. So login. So we just put in the name from our login.html. So that would automatically access the contents of that HTML file. So the next one I want to create is our signing up page. And the signing up page would go much like the first one. So I'll just do copy and paste and just change the code names or the page names. So this will be sign. So you can name your sign up or whatever you want to name it, but I'm just naming it sign. Alright. So basically we've been able to create the routes for our authentication purposes. So these are the routes. So this is the route for our login page and this is the route for our sign up page. And so the next thing we want to do is we want to also create a views.py file. The authentication file basically handles all of the routes that would help us in authentication. We're supposed to have a logger route here too, but I wouldn't add it as yet. And my views.py will now contain the active pages from my website. So I'll do at views. So this views is extending from these views that we have here. So the decorator is taken from this views variable in which we initialize our blueprint function. So that's where it's actually inheriting from. So we do at views the route. I've used the route. Now I want to link it to a certain route. So the route I want to link it to at this time is the home page. Now the home page would basically take in one slash. Because the home page basically is the default page on our website. So we don't necessarily have to do stroke home actually. So it's the default page, so we don't necessarily have to follow it with a postfix. Yeah. So we've used the route, and I would create the definition as a home because it's our home page. I'll add my colon. Then I would return. So what I'm returning is a render template function. I think the render template function would help in displaying the content of our HTML to our users. Yeah, that's what it does. Render template. Return render template. Now I've not imported my render template function yet from my Flask class. So I'll do that. That's why it's giving me this exactly. So it's fine now. So render template. Which template are we rendering here? So we are rendering for the home page. So I'll do home.html. Yeah, that looks good. And so I'll just copy and paste for the rest of the pages. So I have a profile page. So the profile page. So that will be profile. This will be profile.html. Profile.html. And the next one we have will be our Alx stories, right? Alx stories, right? I just copy and paste this. So here I'll do right. Here I'll just do copy and paste it down here. Alright. Good. So this route links to this HTML file, basically. And the function to access it is the write function with this return type. So alright. And then I would create the last route. Okay. So I'll create the last route. I'll just do a copy and paste. Alx stories, right? This should be Alx stories read. This should be read. So it's best for us to use descriptive names when naming the contents on our web page. That way it's easier for you to understand what you did when you actually come back to check your code, or when somebody else comes to read your code. So it's easier that way. Alright, and so we've created all of the routes for our web page. And what I now want to do is I want to bring up my terminal and I want to run these pages. So we don't really have any content on this web page as yet. But let's see. So how do we run our web page? We do Python, and then we're running this from our main.py file. So we'll do main.py. So my server is up. Great. And so there's no content on my website yet. So let's continue. Alright. So I'll close my terminal for now. And I'll go back to building. So yes, now I would actually need to make use of my template files, and I would be starting from my base.html file. My base.html file is the base. My base.html file is the base for the HTML on my web page. So basically, I told you that the base.html basically contains the contents that would be constant throughout all of the pages of our website. It's like modularity. We don't need to be writing it over and over again. It actually follows the DRY, or dry principle of web development. Don't repeat yourself. So the base.html basically follows the dry principle. Don't repeat yourself. So it helps you create a standard template for all the pages of your website that you can build from. Yeah. So I would want to change this to an HTML folder type. Yeah, I prefer it this way, and so I would use the VS Code command to actually help me create a basic HTML structure, and so I'll use the exclamation mark and I'll enter. So this will create a quick template for my website. So I have this right now, and this is looking good. Now I would introduce you to another concept in Flask that is called Jinja. So basically, Jinja helps you write Python code within HTML. So Jinja basically allows you to write Python in HTML. Python in HTML, basically. Alright. So how do you write Jinja? So I have this title, for instance, and I would want to make the title dynamics such that I can change it on the different pages. So Jinja would help me create that dynamism. All right. So how do you write Jinja? I'll use a curly brace, close the curly brace, and then we'll have a percentage tag, and between it, we'll have a block, and this block will be called title. So if this block is for maybe something else, we'll name it. Let's say we are creating a block for our content. It will be block content. All right. But this block is for our title, so it's going to have the name of uh, title. So I'll just copy and paste it, and I'll say, and at this place will be closing our block. So I'll have an end block here. So I'm saying end the block. All right. So I can now import this to each page on my website, and I can override the template that I have here on other pages of my website. Yeah. So basically, this will become more apparent as we run through our project development. Yeah. Okay. So I've been able to create this title template. Now, for my title template, I would want it to have a value of Alx blog. Exactly. So that will be our title. So basically, I will not be changing it throughout the lifespan of this project, because yeah, this is what we wanted to carry. This is the value we wanted to carry. So we have our title, and then you would see here that we have our index.css. So I want to link my HTML file to my CSS. So basically, how do I do that? I would use a link CSS code, and this will say, okay, link. This will say link, and this will say relationship to what? This HTML document relationship to what? That's what I'm saying. So if the relationship is to a style sheet, which is our CSS. So CSS basically means cascading style sheet, right? So we are basically creating a relationship with the style sheet, and the href would basically create a link that goes somewhere else. So we have the same thing in our a tag, which is our link tag. All right. So we have our href. So this href goes to our style.css. So this is the default um, markup in our HTML, but you can see here our CSS is called index.css, not style.css. So this would not link, not normally. So let me just change to index.css so it can actually find this file that will contain our CSS. All right, good. So that is good. But I would want the title to actually come last. So I want the title to come last. So I'll just cut it. So I would so I would actually put the title for my web page down here. Yeah. All right. So I've been able to create my title and my link. So the next thing I would want to do is to start on the body of my web page actually. So the body will contain the um the markup for the actual content of my web page. So I want to go to my index.css now, and I want to create a styling for my body tag. So the styling for my body tag would actually create certain styling for my body. And so I'll go to my body tag within my CSS, and this would have, so basically HTML comes with certain inbuilt padding and margin, and I want to remove that. So I'll set my padding. So padding is just space around the text. So I would want to remove that. I would only want you to take on the values that I've set. Alright. So I'll set the padding to 0 pixel. And I'll also set the margin to 0 pixel. And I'll also set the font style or font family that we'll be using throughout our page. So I want the font family to be, I really like Poppins, so I want it to actually take in Poppins. But if it cannot find Poppins, then it should go for Geneva. The reason why we are doing it is that not everybody will have Poppins on their system. So we're saying if you cannot find Poppins, then use Geneva. Then if you cannot find Geneva, use Tahoma. But if you cannot also find Tahoma, then revert to a sans serif style. Alright. So now this will take on, this would actually affect all of the styles on my page, or all of the contents on my page. This font family would be the used font family throughout all of our page, right? So I'll come back to my base.html, and I would actually continue. I've been able to remove the paddings, the default paddings and the default margins using CSS, and I've also been able to set the font family to be used throughout my website. And so the next thing I want to do is I want to create my navigation bar. So the navigation bar is the upper part of our website, from where we can access and link to different parts of our website. And you can actually refer to our Figma file that has the basic design for our website, and that is what we'll be following. So basically, I have a navigation, and then inside this navigation we'll have an A tag. So this A tag will be a link. Now I'm basically wrapping an image inside this link. That's basically what I'm doing. So this will contain my logo, but I want my logo to link to my home page when I click on it. So I could just put my logo image here without actually linking it anywhere, but I want it to be that the image, when clicked, would always revert me back to the home page. So I'll now do image. Alright, so I have no image on my website yet, so I'll need to bring that in. Alright, so that's the basic structure. Then I would also have an unordered list for all my navigation links. Alright, an unordered list. Then I have a list item for each navigation. All right. So I have a list, and inside each list, I'll have a link. And so this link would lead me to a sign up page. A sign up page. So I'll just copy and paste this. So I'll just do it over and over. We have about 5 links here, 4 and 5. Good. So this is sign up, and this is profile. And the third one will be our home page. Our home page. And then we have our ALX stories page. Our ALX stories page will basically contain the pages where users can read each other's stories. Would not be having the page for the right set up on our navigation link. Alright. And then the last page we'll be having is our login page. Login page. Alright. So this is the basic navigational setup for our page. Alright. Now we can see that these links are not going anywhere at the moment. So the next thing I want to do is I want to bring in my images. Now if I click here, there are no images here yet. So I want to go back to my file and bring in all the images that I'll be using within this tutorial. Here. So I'll go to the files that has all the images that I'll be needing. Alright. So I'm trying to locate it on my local machine. And I'll just simply bring it into my images file. Alright. Website, static, images. So I'm manually putting it into the images folder on my local machine, and I have it now. So when I come back to my website, you can see that I have my images now. Alright, this is looking good. This is looking good. So now the next thing we want to do is actually link the image. So the image I'll be needing here will be the logo. So basically the ALX logo. So if you see here, I have an add logo, an ALX logo, an hero image, quotation mark, a user female, and a user male. So those are all the images we'll be needing. But what I'm needing right now is my ALX logo. So this. Alright. So I'll basically link this. So to link this, the image, the source. So the source basically is the directory in which the image can be found. So it will be stroke static, because these images are inside our static folder. Stroke static. So our images folder is inside our static folder, right? And then all of our images is now within our image folder. So we need to set up the directory properly before we can actually see what is happening within our web page. Stroke ALX logo dot png. Alright, so this is good, right? So we need to extend this to another page. So let me create the last thing that I will actually want to put on this page, and this will be my. So I want to create a Jinja block for my content. So basically, this content would make it possible for me to get this page, and within the content tags, I can now write new HTML code for the other pages actually. So I would create a Jinja, and the Jinja will be a div. So I have a div, and then within this div would have a Jinja, and this Jinja would Jinja percent. Then there'll be a block, and the block name will be content. I can just copy and paste this. Right? So basically, I wouldn't be putting anything within this block. This will basically help me to write new HTML code within the other pages of my website. Right. So I'll set the class to content. Yeah. All right. So I have the basic setup for my base.html file. And so I can now go to my home page. I can go to my home page, and I can now start up the building of my home page. So in my home page, I would now bring in the base.html template that we have created. Right. So I basically want to change my file to an HTML file. So I'll be bringing in the base.html file that I've created. So I'll also be using Jinja here. So I would extend the base.html template to this page. So this is what it will be like. What do percent extends base.html. All right. It extends. All right. Yeah. So that means the content for that web page will be available now on our home.html. All right. So on my home.html, I would now go on to style. So I'll go on now to style. To actually create styling for my nav and for the properties within it, so that we can actually see what we have on our page. All right. So the nav itself, it's neither an ID or a class, so it's a self it's a self functioning tag in itself. So my now we have a background color, so I want to give it a background color of black, following the template for our following the Figma template for our site. The background color is black, so I want to give it a width of 100%. So I want the width of my navbar to fit my page at every single time. So whether you toggle it 25%, 100%, so it would always fit within the page of my website. And then I would also want to create a height of 40 pixels. So I create a height of 40 pixels. Then I want to set a margin auto. So a margin auto would actually help in the centering of our navigation bar. Then I want the display within our nav to be a flex. So the flex basically, it has to constrain the elements within it in a certain direction, whether it is vertically or horizontally. So a flex is like a container. So everything within that container would follow the shape or um the the shape or um the alignment or the structure of that container. So it can either be vertical or horizontal alignment. So I'll be doing that. So I'll do display flex. So I'm using a flex. Before we used to use float, but flex has made life much easier. So I'm not specifying a direction. So I told you that it can either be vertical or horizontal. So I'm saying my flex direction, since we're having a navigation bar and it's supposed to be in an horizontal direction. So the direction is going to be row. We know row is horizontal and column is vertical. So it's going to be row. All right. And then I want to justify the content. Justify the content. So this justify content simply means it's basically justification. We are justifying it to the center of the page. So it's a positioning or alignment CSS attribute. So I also align the items to the center actually. Right. So now I'll go back to my base.html and I would set an ID for my logo. So I'll set the ID to ID. So I'll set the ID to logo. So I set it to logo because that's our logo. I also set the alternate. So the alternate is simply a text that shows up when the image does not properly load. Let's say there's no network or you turn off images for your website. So it will show this text instead. Yeah. So now I can now go and use this ID to style my image. All right. So I'll come right here and do. So to reference an ID in CSS, we need to use the hash character. Hash. But to do that for a class, you need to use the dot character. All right. So my logo will take on a width. Take on a width of 60 pixels. And to also take on height. The height will also be 40 pixels. So I'm setting the dimension for my logo. So it's 60 by 40 pixels. And I'll now give it a padding of 10 pixels. So this padding would take off the 4-axis 10 pixels. So there's padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left. Alright. So for the unordered list, so this unordered list here, I go back to my base. Unordered list. We have an unordered list here. So the unordered list is it's the parent for all our links. So the unordered list will take in a styling of So I also set this display to flex. I want it to be in an horizontal form. I want um all the contents within my ordered list to be in an horizontal alignment. So I set it. Then I will now set the flex direction to row. So flex direction should be row. Then I also want to set a padding left for the unordered list. I want to set a padding to the left. So this padding left will create a left spacing for our text. So padding left will be 250 pixel. And then I will now set the unordered list. I will justify it to the center, so it will be center aligned. And then I will now I'll align the items within it also to be centered. So um all of the items within this would also be aligned to the center, so they will all be on the same plane. Yeah. And then the last thing I want to do is so the another list comes with a list style. It comes with a list style. So the list style will have a bullet. Yes, a bullet. You have a bullet in front of it. So I want to remove that. So I'll say list style is none. I don't want that bullet. I don't want the list style. Right. Then I'll now go to each of my lists. So for me to get to each of my lists, I have to reference the unordered list first, because that's the parent. The list is the child of the unordered list. So I'll say unordered list to list, and I'll also set the list style to none. So this list style is closer to my list items. So I'll also set it to none. I'll justify the content of each one to center, and I'll also align align these items to center, but I really don't want to do that. So I would also remove all the text decoration, like the underline. So I remove the underline. To remove the underline, you just set text decoration, because that's a text decoration. So I'm setting it to none. I don't want any text decoration. So that is it. That is it. All right. Then for each of my list items on the page, I actually want to set some. For all of my list items, I would want to set some CSS for it. So I'll say the color for all of the text within my links should be white. So I'll just use the white. So I want it to be white, because if you check our Figma file, you will see that the our text is basically white on black or black on white. So all of my links will be white. Then I'll do a padding right for all of my links. So add the padding to the right. Padding right. So I would add 15 pixels of padding. Then the font size for my padding will be 12 pixels. So they will be 12 pixels, except I override it. Maybe in an inline styling or 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 in a subsequent styling, but all of my links would have a font size of 12, padding right of 15 pixels, and a color of white. So I would also set the list style for my link, list style. So I'll set it to none. Then I'll set the text decoration also to none. Text. The text decoration would remove text decoration none would remove the underline that comes with our links. Okay. So then I would be adding a transition here. So this transition we would actually use it for our hover state. So I wouldn't set it yet. So I would now go back to the link and say, for my link, when you hover on the link, so it's gonna be A. A is referring to the link. Then we'll have the colon. The colon would allow us to specify a state. So the hover state. So in the hover state, I want to change the color to aqua. Color. So I want to change it to aqua. So when you hover on any of the links, the color will change to aqua. Yeah. So let's see what we have for now. So I can save. I can save my progress, but I don't need to do that because I'm on auto save, so it automatically saves all of my updates. Creating the content of the files within our home.html. And the first thing we want to do is we want to actually use Jinja to actually template the content on our page. And we know how to write Jinja now. A color brace and a percent sign. So we write extends base.html. So basically, this is extending our base.html onto this page, in that we have the content of our base.html now showing on this page. Alright, so we've been able to do that, and right now I would now bring my title onto this page. So I'll go to my base.html and I will fetch my title. So I don't need to put in the title tag now because it has been templated within our Jinja block. So I'll bring that to my HTML. So I want my title to be Alx blog. But let's say I really want to change this to something else. I can change it here, and for this page, that will be the title, without necessarily writing a title tag again. So it's simply a way to actually template content within our HTML. And so there's also another template within here, which is the content block. And I'll copy the same. So this will allow me to create a super div within the home page that all of my other content will be wrapped around or wrapped inside of. So now I can write new HTML within this block. Alright. So if we look at our Figma, the first thing we will see is an hero image for our page. So for the hero image, we are going to be doing image and our source. So I'll basically just go to our images. We have our images here, and the image I want to use is the hero image, and I'll just copy the relative part, and then I can copy and paste it here. And now I can remove the website part, and I can have static stroke images stroke. So that is properly linked to my image, my static. It goes to my image and it finds this file within it. And my alternate text for this will be hero. So it's basically saying this is my hero image. Alright, and I want to add some dimensions to this image actually, because this will be too big for my page. So I will set the width So 686 pixels, 686 pixel, and then I will set the height. I'll set the height to 257 pixel. Alright. Now add in an ID of hero. That will be for my CSS styling. Then I will now create an inline styling within this image markup, and I will do style. So this will bring up the styling suggestion, and I would simply just create a margin top. So this margin top will basically separate the image from the navigation bar. So a margin top of 25 pixels. Alright, and this is looking good. And that will be all for our image. And so the next thing I want to do is I would also create a div within this block. And this div, I'll give it an ID of hero explainer board. Hero explainer board. Explain hero explainer board. Alright. And so within the body of this div, I would have another div. So it is a div within a div. So now inside this div, I would call this. I will give this div an ID of explainer text. Explainer text. So inside this, there will be an image. Inside this div, I will have an image. So the first image will lead to a quotation mark. So you can see it here, the quotation mark. So I will also copy the relative part. Alright, copy the relative part. Then I can remove the website directory part of it. Alright, now I'll give it an alternate of quotation mark. Alright, and so I would add some styles. I'll add some inline styling to this div, and I'll set my display to flex. My display will be set to flex, and I want my flex to take the direction of a row, actually. Yeah, so that is all we'll be doing for the styling, the inline styling here. So we can use the explainer text to do subsequent styling, but it's better to do the inline styling for styles that you actually want to assign on the fly for a particular element. Alright, so I've been able to insert this image markup, and so I'll create an inline styling. The inline style. I'll do a padding left. Padding left will be 0 pixel. Then the padding bottom would also be 0 pixel. 0 pixel. I'll do a font weight. So I'll make the font weight lighter. So I want to drop this to a new line. Yeah, alright. And then I want to make the width and height 25 pixels each. So width 25 pixel, then the height this will be 25 pixel. Alright. So I'll make the alt quotation mark. And so I will also now create a p tag. So the p tag would have an ID. Tag will have an ID, and the ID will be to be explainer. So I would actually shorten it text paragraph, and I want it to be aligned left. So I would actually create the styling within my CSS. Alright. So this is going to be 1203 Alx students. Alx students. Alx students and fellows. They will do a line break. Do a line break. Have shared the true inspiring. We also do a line break and vibrant Alx stories. Alx stories, which also do a line break. Are inspiring other tech. Do a line break. Youngest to find their passion, or to find their way. Alright. So that'll be the end of our p tag. That'll be the end of our p tag, and so we can close our div here. And so we can style all of these IDs. And so in my home.html, I have this hero explainer board. I've styled this hero explainer board, so I have to create. And the hero explainer board is an ID. So it's going to be referenced in index.css with a star, with the hash, hero explainer board. And then we have our stylings within this curly braces. And the background color is going to be black, right? So I'm just going to copy and paste the CSS I already have it here. I'll just copy and paste it, and I will explain what each one does. So the background color is black. That is the shape will be black. I told you that the shape basically takes on a background color, while the text on top of the shapes or the divs take on a color um, color attribute. And the width is going to be 720 pixel. The height is going to be 185 pixel. There's going to be display flex because we want to display all of the elements within this in a certain direction, and the direction is going to be row. And I'm going to be justifying it to the center. I'm also going to be aligning all my items to the center. There's going to be a gap of 10 pixels between all of the items within this div. So there's going to be a gap of 10 pixels each between them, and I'm going to have a margin of 15 pixels on top of this hero explainer board, so it can be separated from the div above it. Yeah, so that is what we have there. And I'm going to go back now to my home.html, and I'm going to complete the page. So right under this div, I will be creating another div. So basically there are going to be, it's going to be a div within a div, right? So it's going to be a div, and this div is going to take in an ID of explainer images. So I already have the this quotation mark and the explainer text. So the next thing I have to do is put in the two images of the male and the female user that we have on our page. Actually, that's what is left. And so the ID, I'm going to give this div an ID of explainer images. Explainer images. Alright. And there are going to be images within it. So there's going to be an image, then the image is going to have a source, an image tag, and the source is going to be, I think I might just need to copy that, but let me just type it, images user mail. So that's the first image dot png, that's the extension type for our image. And then I'm going to give it some inline styling. So I'm going to give it a width of 150 pixels each. So I told you guys that you might need to learn the science of getting your pictures right. Maybe we'll look at that in another video. Alright, so this is going to be a square because the width and the height are the same. They are the same values. User is male. User male. Alright, so that is it. So I'll just copy and paste this. Copy and paste this. And the second image is user female. So I'll change that. This also takes in a width and height of 150 pixels each, and then the alt is also going to be user female, so we can distinguish between the two types. So I'm going to go to my CSS, and I'm going to I'm going to go to my CSS, and I'm going to create a CSS, for my explainer images. Alright, so I'll go to index.css, and that's an ID too. Explainer images. So like here, the display for the images is going to be flex. That is, the two images, I would want them in a row. I want them on the same horizontal axis, and I'm going to set the flex direction to row. Then there's going to be a gap of 40 pixels between the two images. Alright, and then there's going to be a margin left, so I really do not want it to be touching the edge of my screen, so I'm going to give it a margin left of 36 pixels. And I'm going to go back now to my home.html, and we are going to complete it from here. And so we're going to create another div. So this new div we are creating would have a we have a div inside of it. So there'll be a div for our hero art story section. Alright, so create a new div. So this div takes on an ID of hero add story section. But inside this div, I'm going to have having an art story container, and inside the art story container, I'm going to be having another div, and this div would have the art story button and an image, and it's also going to be having the number of available posts. So let's have that. So inside this, I'm going to have another div, and this div will have an ID of add story button, add story button. So this is the button that can be basically this is the button that can be clicked on, that would actually take us to a page where we can add our own stories. Actually, okay. So it's add story container, and then inside this we also have some other attributes. And so I'm going to be having a link that will wrap around the symbol and the add your story h1. So it's going to be wrapping around it so that they are both clickable. Alright, so I would have a link tag, and this link tag would lead to Alx stories, right? But I wouldn't do that yet, so I want to do that all at once. I want to put in all of the link all at once. Alright, so the ID for my link will be add story button. add story button. Now inside this, we are also going to be having some more markups, and the first one will be for the image, because we're having an image and an h1. So the image, and then the source is going to be static. So we want to add the we want to add the add icon in our images. So we have images add.png. Alright, and then our alternate will be add icon, and so I would also want to set the width and the height for this. So the width and height is going to be 45 pixels each. Width, height, 45 pixel. And I'm going to do an inline styling, so I'll have a style. So let me break this. I'll have a style, and this style is going to take in one attribute, margin. I want to set my margin top to 12 pixels so that there can be a space here. Margin top. Let me just type that out. Margin top 12 pixel. And I'm also going to be having an h1. So this h1 will have the text, add your story. Add your story. So that's what's going to be within this h1 tag. Add your story. Alright. And so this h1 is going to have a style within it. So I want to do some inline styling. So I want the display for this to be flex. Flex direction will be row. I want to justify the content to the center. I'll also align the items to the center. Let me break this. Align the item to the center. I also want to set a margin left of 10 pixels. Margin left 10 pixels. Alright. And so this is everything that I have within my a tag. And the last thing I want to do is I would also want to add another link. So basically what I did here was I created an image and I set some styling for it based on how I would want it to be displayed. So I really want this image of an add icon. Let me show you the add icon. This icon. So So I want it next to my to my audio story, and I want them to be flexed, right? And on the other side of it, so the reason why I wrap them inside this link is so that they can be clickable. All right. So I'm also creating another a tag. This a tag will be for my pp tag, basically. All right. So I'm going to be creating it because I would want to wrap the p tag within an a tag so that it can be clickable. I'm just wrapping a paragraph text within a link. That's just what I'm doing. So I'm having an a. So I'm not certain where it's going to at this moment. So then I will have an ID, which is available posts. So this ID is for available posts. And then I'll have a styling. So I'll do some inline styling here. So the style would have a color. So I want to set the color to black. So I want I would want link text to be black, and I'll give it a padding left. So I told you padding is spacing. So basically, spacing around the text to the left. So padding left will be 165 pixels, and that's okay for me. So within this, I would now want to have a paragraph within this. So that means that the paragraph, when clicked, would act as a link. That's the logic behind what we are doing. So the paragraph is going to have a span. So the reason why I'm having this as a span, let me explain to you. I want this 1203. I want it to be accessible by itself, because we want to create a counter. So for every time a message or a feedback is given, we really want to update it. So that is why I created this span. So I'm going to have a span, and this span is going to take in an ID of counter, and this span is going to have the text 1203. We know we haven't really gotten that number yet, but let's just use it as a placeholder. And so I'm going to set a space in here. So NBSP, which means non-breaking space. So this would add one space. So if I want to add another space, I have to do another and NBSP. So if I put like 15, that will put this synonymous number of spaces. So this is a quick way to add spacing within HTML. Because HTML, even though you add a spacing within these elements, it wouldn't show on your page. So this and NBSP is a great way to actually do it. So I've created my span, and now I can write out the rest of my p tag stories. Available. I almost didn't get that right. All right, stories available. So that is all. That is all we have for that. And then the last part is, so underneath that we have a link, or underneath that box we have a link, and with that link says read all stories, and when we click on that link, it will take us to a page where we can read all the stories available on the website. So basically we'll be creating that too. So we'll create a div for that, and this div will take in an ID of read all stories. And inside this, we're also going to be having a an A tag. Okay, we're having an A tag. So basically, the A tag would have a text within it that will say read all stories. So that when we click on the read all stories, it's going to take us to a page, to a specified page. So I'll create my link tag. I would not set it yet. Then I want to give it a class. Why am I giving it a class? Because I would want to use this in other places. So I'll give it a class of alt links. Alt links simply means so basically I'm just giving this a class of alt links because I'm just going to be using it for some links in my authentication, my sign up page, my so it just tells me what kind of link this is. So I'll give it that general name. I will not set where it's going to, and I'll also set some inline styling for it. So inline styling, like I told you, is good when you want to easily access some styles when you look at your HTML code and you do not want to put it in the body of your index.css file. So this is more easily readable and you can really see what's happening. And I told that inline styling takes more priority over internal and external styling. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to have a style of padding left. Padding left is going to be 545 pixel. And the font weight for this, the font weight is how pronounced we would want our font to be. So this is not font size, this is font weight, and I want to set it as a bold text. And now I can now set what is going to be inside of my A tag, that is the value inside, and this is going to be read all stories, and this is good. So now now we have my end block and we are good. And the only thing that's left now is for me to style my index.css. So the first thing I want to style is the hero art story section. Okay, I'm gonna have my hero. I'm gonna have so this is an ID. This is gonna be hero art story section. Let me just copy that. Hero art story section. And so I'm going to be having my my curly braces. And now that I have my curly braces, I can hero art story section. So I'll just copy and paste the CSS and I'll explain it. So basically I'm creating an outer border for this. So I'm saying give it a border. So let the border be 2 pixel thick and let it be a solid border. And we can also make it breaking borders actually. So I want it to be solid and I want the color to be black. I'm setting a width of 720 pixel for this. You can see like there's a specified width for most of the divs on our page. And I'm going to be setting a height of 80 pixel for this, and the display is going to be flex. So the all the content within it is going to be flexed in the direction of a row that is horizontally, and I'm justifying the content to the center. I'm aligning I'm aligning all the items within this to the center. That is, all of them will be on the same plane. Then I'm setting a gap of 20 pixels between the items inside of this div, and there's a margin outside of this div of 20 pixel on top and then auto on the left, so that it's evenly spaced. Alright, so I can go back now to my home.html. I've done for the hero art story section, then I have to do for the art story container. I will just copy and paste it. I'll go to my index.css. So you can see the way we are systematically adding in the so add story container, and I'll also do this display flex direction is going to be row, flex direction is going to be row. I'm going to justify the content to the center and align the items to the center too. Alright, and I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to see the next thing I want to style. The next thing I want to style is my okay, this is good, and solve. So I want to style my available posts. Yeah, I want to style my available posts. I have it here. I'll have it here. So this is the A tag that has this span and this stories available within it. So I'm going to be styling that. So it's an ID too. It's an ID too. Available posts. Let me check and make sure that's correct. Okay, that's correct. So the available posts, the available posts basically would have. I want to give it a padding on the left, some spacing on the left, and I'm going to remove the text underline. So I'm going to say text decoration. I'm going to add an underline to it. Sorry, I'm going to add an underline to it. Alright, so alright, and I also want to create some CSS for my riddle stories, some styling for my riddle stories. For my riddle stories, but before that, okay, I have my counter here. So my counter. So I also create a styling for my counter. Index.css. So I will also create a styling for my counter. The counter is within a span tag, basically. So basically that is just going to be incremented every time we have a new feedback from a user or a client. Okay, so my counter, and when I go back to my home page, I have this read all stories ID, and I'm also going to be coming here to set the styling read all stories. Alright, so I have some styling here that's left to be done. And this is the explainer text, p tag. And the reason why I use this left is because I would actually want this to be aligned to the left, right? So I'll copy and paste this, and I would go back to my CSS. That's an ID, right? It's an ID. Yeah, it's an ID. Then I would want to put this. Explainer text. I would want to put it here. Sorry about that. Explainer text. Where is it? So I'll copy it. Then I would just copy and paste the CSS explainer text p left align. So like I said, it's best to use descriptive syntax for your HTML ID or class and your styling, so you get an idea, or anybody else who's reading your code gets an idea of what a syntax is actually doing, or what it achieves. Alright, so now that I've done this, I would also now lock in the last set of CSS for my site that I've not yet done, and this is the add story button. So the add story button. So I have my add story button. I have an H1 within it. So for my add story button, I guess that's an ID. Alright, because I wouldn't need to be using that styling twice. So it's going to be an hash add story button. I'm also going to be looking for add story button. So I'll also be locking in the CSS. So basically, we have a display of flex direction of row, a padding right of 10 pixels, and a text decoration. So I would want a text decoration here of underline, and I want a margin from the left 20 pixels. For my add story button, I wouldn't want it to be touching the edge of my div, right? And then the last one is I'm also going to be having an add story button, but this is going to be styling the H1 tag within my story button. So the H1, we did it. Alright. And I want to set the color to black, and I also want a padding right for that actually, so there can be a separation between the two. And right now I can actually I've run my terminal, and I can check what my site looks like. I'm actually seeing now that I don't have my hot links set up, so I'll also come here and get my hot links. So I'll get my hot links class, and I will set it. I haven't done that yet. So I will set my hot link class. So I would want to set that here. So this might not be an exact of what we have on our GitHub, but we are all going to arrive at the same destination. I assure you that. So we have our hot links and our hot links. So I'm also going to be locking in the CSS for our hot links. I So the reason why I'm just locking this in is so that we can actually save some time writing all of the CSS actually. So I can just lock that in and I'll explain what each one does. So for our out links, so I'm setting the text color to be black. I'm doing a display of block, and I'm aligning each text to the center. I'm keeping the underline to actually show that this is a link, and then the margin. I'm setting 0 margin and also on left and the right. And a margin bottom. So I'm putting a margin bottom of 30 pixels so that it actually like keeps within the body of the page and it's obvious. Then I want to do an hover state for my hot links. I want to do an hover state for my hot links, so I'll do hot links. Sorry, hot links. Yes. So I'll set the hover state for these hot links. Hover. And in the hover state, I would want the color to slightly change to something a little bit gray, actually. All right. So I've set the hover state for my hot links, and now we can go to our web page, and you can see our home page is complete. So we can move on to the next thing. So I would want to do our sign up page. I want to extend the base page. So in our base page, you can see we have a block of content, and we also have a nav bar. All right. So on our home page, we did not have an header bar because it's our home page. But on this page, we are going to be having something called an header bar. So the header bar will describe what a page is for. So I didn't have it on my other pages, but I'll be having it on this on the rest of my pages. So I'll do this. So extends. What are we extending our base.html? So I told you, the base template contains the constant pages on our website, the constant sections and content on our web page. I'm also going to be, so instead of just coding this, I'll just come here and copy this, our blog content. So now I can actually write original code within this blog content. But before this blog content, I'll also set a title for the page. So we already have that set in our base. We have that set in our page in our base, and I'll just have to go to our base, and I'll have to copy that too. Okay, this Alx blog. All right, and so this will generate that. This will generate the Alx blog title for this page. And now I can now begin to write original content. So I'm going to now create a div. So this div will be for the header bar. Like I told you, the header bar. So the reason why this is not showing up suggestions is because I have not set it. I have not set the language mode. So I would set the language mode to HTML. So now I would see my suggestions now. So I'll set the div. Then I want to set my div as a class because I'm going to be having this for the rest of my pages. So I just want to set it once. So I'll call it an header bar. Alright, so inside this header bar for this page, I'm going to be having an h1, and this h1 will have sign up because this is the sign up page. So if you check our Figma file, you see that this is exactly what it is. So now I'm going to be, I'll go to my CSS. So I'll pull up my CSS and I want to style this header bar. So let me put this header bar. Let me put this right after our the hover state for our links. So this is basically going to be dot, because it's a class. It's going to be dot header bar. Okay, good. So I will now set some CSS styling for our header bar. So I'm also going to be pulling that up. So this is, so I'll just paste it to save time for typing. The background color for each of our header bar is black. The width, it will always fill 100% of our page. The height is 40 pixels. The margin is auto. The display also is going to be flex. It's going to take on the flex direction of the row. The content will be justified to the center of our page, and the items will all be aligned to the center of the div. And also it's going to have a margin top of 20 pixels. So this is to